Have you ever felt a chill run down your spine in an empty room? Or caught a flicker of movement out of the corner of your eye, only to find nothing there? Most of us dismiss these moments. We rationalize them, tell ourselves it's just our imagination, a trick of the light, or our minds playing games. But what if it's not? What if these are fleeting glimpses into a world that exists just beyond our perception? A world teeming with entities we can't comprehend. Tonight, we're not just going to talk about ghosts. We're going to delve deeper into the unsettling stories of those who claim to have encountered something else. These aren't your typical haunted house tales. These are accounts of beings that defy explanation, incidents that shatter our understanding of reality. Let's start with the story of Sarah, a young urban explorer who loved documenting forgotten places. Her passion led her to the abandoned Blackwood Sanatorium, a place with a dark history of patient mistreatment and mysterious deaths. Armed with her camera and a flashlight, she ventured inside one moonless night, expecting to capture eerie architecture, not to become part of the hospital's legacy. The air inside was thick and heavy, colder than the autumn night outside. Dust motes danced in the beam of her flashlight, illuminating peeling paint and rusted medical equipment. As she moved deeper into the asylum's main ward, a faint sound reached her ears. It was a soft, rhythmic tapping. Tap, tap. She froze, listening. It wasn't the wind. It was deliberate, methodical. Following the sound, she found herself in what looked like an old operating theater. In the center of the room, a single gurney stood under a skylight, bathed in pale moonlight. The tapping was coming from underneath it. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but her curiosity, her need to document, pushed her forward. She crouched down, angling her camera to see what was hidden in the shadows. What she saw wasn't a rat or a piece of debris. It was a hand. A pale, slender hand with impossibly long fingers, tapping rhythmically against the cold concrete floor. As her light hit it, the tapping stopped. The hand slowly retracted, pulling back into the absolute darkness beneath the gurney. Sarah scrambled backward, her breath catching in her throat. She didn't scream. She was too terrified to make a sound. She just knew she had to get out. As she fled, the sound started again, but this time it wasn't just tapping. It was a wet, scraping sound, a sound of something heavy being dragged across the floor, and it was getting closer. She didn't dare look back. She burst out of the sanatorium doors, gasping for air, and didn't stop running until the city lights were in view. She never went back. The footage she captured showed nothing but dust and shadows. But to this day, when she's alone in the quiet, she sometimes hears it. A faint, rhythmic tapping. This kind of encounter, where a being seems to exist just on the edge of our senses, is a common thread in many supernatural horror stories. It's not a ghost with a clear backstory or a demon with a specific name. It's something unknown, something other. It's the fear of what we can't classify that is truly terrifying. Consider the tale of the shadow in the stacks. Mark was a night security guard at a massive centuries-old university library. His job was simple: walk the rounds, check the doors, and make sure no students were hiding after closing. For months, the job was mundane, even boring. The silence of the library was peaceful, until it wasn't. It began subtly. Books would be found on the floor in aisles he had just checked. Doors he had locked would be slightly ajar. He blamed his own tiredness at first, but then came the whispers. Faint, sibilant whispers that seemed to slither through the towering shelves, always just out of earshot. He could never make out the words, but he felt their intent. It was cold, and it was not friendly. One night, while patrolling the rare manuscripts section in the sub-basement, the lights flickered and died, plunging him into total darkness. His flashlight beam cut a nervous path through the pitch black, and that's when he saw it. At the far end of the aisle, a shape began to form. It was darker than the darkness around it, a void in the shape of a man. but unnaturally tall and thin, its limbs stretched at impossible angles. It had no face, no features, just an empty, absorbing blackness. It didn't move in a way that made sense. It didn't walk or float. It seemed to unfold. It contorted its long limbs, stretching and compressing as it slid between the shelves, moving towards him with a silent, dreadful grace. Mark was paralyzed by a fear, so profound it felt like ice in his veins. The figure raised a long, spindly arm, pointing a finger that was nothing more than a tapering shard of night. He finally broke free from his terror-induced trance and ran. He could hear the rustle of thousands of pages turning at once, a deafening cacophony that echoed through the halls as he fled. He burst out into the night and resigned the next day, refusing to ever set foot in that library again. Other guards who worked the night shift after him reported similar feelings of being watched, of hearing whispers, but none ever saw the figure Mark described as the shadow in the stacks. It seemed to have chosen him. What were these entities? The creature under the gurney, the shadow in the library. They don't fit neatly into our lore of ghosts or demons. They seem to be something more primal, more alien to our existence. They are predators of a different kind, hunting not for our bodies, but perhaps for our sanity, our fear. This leads us to our final, and perhaps most disturbing account. The story of the Miller family and the house they built on what they thought was empty land. It was their dream home, nestled in a quiet, wooded area far from the bustle of the city. But their dream quickly turned into a living nightmare. It started with their youngest daughter, Lily, who was 5 years old. She began talking to an imaginary friend she called the Taker of Voices. Her parents, Mike and Jessica, thought it was a normal childhood phase. But the games Lily played with her friend were strange. She would sit in her room, completely silent for hours, just staring at her closet door. When her parents asked what she was doing, she'd whisper, "I gave my voice to the Taker. I have to wait for him to give it back." Then other things started happening. Objects would move on their own. Whispers would echo from the vents, but not human whispers. They sounded like distorted recordings, snippets of the family's own conversations, played back in a mocking, disjointed way. The temperature in the house would drop suddenly, and a foul smell, like damp earth and decay, would permeate the air. The breaking point came one evening when Mike was in the basement. He heard a scratching sound coming from behind a newly built wall. Annoyed, thinking it was a rodent, he grabbed a hammer to break through the drywall. As he pulled away the first piece of plaster, he saw it wasn't pipes or wiring behind the wall. It was a collection of small, strange objects. Old dolls with their mouths stitched shut, dried flowers tied with human hair, and small animal bones arranged in bizarre patterns. Suddenly, his daughter Lily's voice, clear as day, whispered right behind him, "He takes the voices so you can't scream." Mike spun around, but no one was there. He was alone in the basement. He ran upstairs to find Lily sleeping soundly in her bed. But as he watched her, her mouth opened, and a voice that was not her own, a deep, guttural voice, rasped, "You should have left us alone." The Millers fled their home that night with only the clothes on their backs. They never returned. Paranormal investigators who later visited the property reported intense activity and a malevolent presence that seemed tied to the land itself. They advised that the house be demolished, that the ground was somehow wrong. The entity, the Taker of Voices, wasn't haunting the house. It was part of the very soil the house was built on. These stories share a common, terrifying element: the complete violation of our known world. It's one thing to believe in a spirit with unfinished business. It's another thing entirely to confront a being whose existence, whose motives, are utterly alien and incomprehensible. These aren't just stories of things that go bump in the night. They are warnings. Warnings that we are not alone, and that some doors are better left unopened. Some shadows are better left unexplored, and some voices are better left unheard. So the next time you feel that unexplained chill or see a flicker of movement where there should be none, pause for a moment. Don't be so quick to dismiss it. You might just be standing on the edge of a reality you never knew existed, and something might be looking back. Thanks for joining me in the darkness tonight. If you have your own inexplicable story, share it in the comments below. I read every single one. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. Stay safe and try to get some sleep.